The tale of Arrigo Sacchi is one of football's most remarkable stories. Sacchi was a man who never played football professionally and worked as a shoe salesman, but he managed to find his way to the top of the game and become one of the most influential managers in football history. This is the story of Arrigo Sacchi, the shoe salesman who conquered Europe. Arrigo Sacchi was born on the 1st of April 1946 in Fusignano, Italy. He grew up obsessed with football, admiring the style of teams such as Brazil and the Netherlands. He attempted to carve out a career as a professional footballer, but simply did not have the ability. During this time, he worked on the side as a shoe salesman at his father's factory. At the age of 26, he tried out for local side Braccaluco, before deciding to turn his hand towards coaching instead. It soon became clear that he was something special as a coach. He went through different clubs before being offered a full-time job as a youth coach at Cesena. Having been only part-time before, Sacchi had to make the choice between shoes or football. Unsurprisingly, he chose football. Sacchi had formed a reputation as a nonconformist. Italian football tended to lead towards the defensive styles of play synonymous with the likes of Helenio Herrera and Nerio Rocco. However, Sacchi, influenced by the likes of the 1950s Real Madrid and 1970s Netherlands sides, focused on the attacking aspects of the game, with a strong emphasis on entertainment. He would go on to say that to go down in history, a team doesn't just need to win, they have to entertain as well. Sacchi continued to rise through the pyramid. After taking Rimini close to the Serie C title, he joined Fiorentina as a youth coach. He would join Parma in 1985, where he stepped into the limelight. In his first season at Parma, he got them promoted from Serie C to Serie B, and almost got them promoted to top flight in his second season. Meanwhile, in the Coppa Italia, he stunned AC Milan as Parma defeated them in the group stage, before knocking them out over 2 legs in the knockout round. A person who was particularly impressed by this was Silvio Berlusconi, the owner of AC Milan. This was enough to persuade Berlusconi to appoint Sacchi as manager of AC Milan in 1987. At the time, the Rossoneri had only won a single Serie A title in 20 years, and Berlusconi hoped Sacchi would be the man to change this. However, as well as the mammoth task of changing the club's fortunes, Sacchi also had to fight for his credibility. Many doubted that a man who never played professionally was the right fit for a club who had twice before been champions of Europe. Sacchi was quick to shut this criticism down. When questioned about his failure as a player, Sacchi famously responded with, "I never realised that in order to become a jockey, you have to have been a horse first." Sacchi focused on intense pressing and a high defensive line. The idea of this was to squeeze all of his players into one small space, so that the opposition would have to try and get through 3 lines of players in quick succession, which inevitably proved to be difficult. He also coined a training method known as shadow play, where he got his players to train with an imaginary football, and he would tell his players where the imaginary ball was, so that they could move into position fluidly. His adoration of the Dutch football style meant his players were capable of filling different roles on the pitch, with his interchanging 4-4-2 formation working like a charm. He purchased Dutch players Marco van Basten and Ruud Gullit, and would later sign another Dutchman in midfielder Frank Rijkaard. As well as midfielder Roberto Donadoni, he established a solid back line of Franco Baresi, Alessandro Costacurta, Mauro Tassotti and Paolo Maldini. With these players forming the spine of the team, he was about to hit the ground running. In 1988, AC Milan won their first league title in 9 years, with Sacchi's wonderful football putting any doubts about his managerial ability to bed. The shoe salesman had won a Scudetto, and he was about to claim even more. AC Milan entered the European Cup, having last won it 20 years before. Sacchi's side found their way through to the semi-finals, where they faced Real Madrid. Real were already known as the kings of the European Cup, and a 1-1 draw at the Bernabeu meant that it would all be decided in the second leg. AC Milan, however, had little to fear. Goals from Carlo Ancelotti, Frank Rijkaard, Ruud Gullit, Marco van Basten and Roberto Donadoni saw AC Milan emerge as 5-0 winners to stun Los Blancos and book their tickets to the final. AC Milan faced Steaua Bucharest in the final at the Camp Nou in Barcelona. Steaua had won the competition 3 years before, but that night the town would be painted red. 2 goals from Hullet and 2 from Van Basten sealed a 4-0 victory for AC Milan and their 3rd European Cup. AC Milan had been completely turned around in only a couple of years, and the next season they were out to keep their European crown. AC Milan defeated the likes of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid to reach the final again, where they faced Benfica. A late goal from Frank Rijkaard ensured that the Rossoneri would retain their European crown. Sacchi had done incredibly, but having burnt so bright, he and his team were now burning out. His intense training methods often led to rows with players, and his intensity was getting too much for many. In 1991, he left AC Milan to take an even bigger job. Arrigo Sacchi was appointed as manager of Italy, and his first task would be to prepare them for the 1992 European Championships. He attracted criticism for focusing on selecting players from AC Milan, and he would fail to get them beyond the group stage at Euro 92. Italy would qualify for the 1994 World Cup, but he again attracted controversy after leaving the likes of Roberto Mancini, Gianluca Vialli, Giuseppe Bergomi and Walter Zenga out of his squad, having fallen out with all of them. Italy lost their opening game to Ireland, but a win over Mexico and a draw with Norway saw them through the group stage. Roberto Baggio netted a number of crucial goals in the knockout rounds, as Italy found their way to the World Cup final against Brazil. However, it would be the Brazilians who triumphed in the final on penalties, leaving Sacchi short of the Holy Grail. His time at Italy came to a bitter end in 1996, as the Italians crashed out of the group stages of the European Championships, following a falling out between Sacchi and Roberto Baggio. After his sacking, Sacchi returned to AC Milan, but it was not the same as before. They lost 6-1 to Juventus in one game and finished the season in 11th place. He would have a spell at Atletico Madrid before a brief return to Parma, but would never manage again after leaving the latter. He spent a season at Real Madrid as a director of football, and these days spends his time doing punditry on Serie A for Italian TV. Arrigo Sacchi's time at the top of European football may have been brief, but it was unforgettable. His AC Milan side, known by many as the Immortals, tore up the rulebook and entertained with incredible results. His influence on football remains, with Jurgen Klopp in particular citing Sacchi as one of his inspirations. Whilst it is a shame Sacchi fell down as quickly as he rose, his journey is nothing short of remarkable, proving all those who doubted him wrong, and despite never making it as a professional footballer, he was still able to live the dream.